Hello friends, welcome to yet another session of Innovations in Marketing and Marketing of Innovations. And while we are building up the case around marketing of innovations, and we are trying to emphasize upon the fact that is it special or different, or let us say a step ahead of, or let us say a step in different direction, although we have tried to understand that fundamentals of marketing remain the same, but then we have to do many things differently, wherein last time we discussed that innovation actually is the responsibility of marketing. And if marketing feels responsible about the innovation, then things go slightly differently. We also try to understand that this is an era of innovations, and here we have to look into this kind of an importance of as far as marketing of innovations go. Now in this session we are trying to focus upon that what is it, how should we look at marketing of innovations with products, services and the usage perspective, or let us say a perspective in relation to perspective. So is it a new product, is it a new usage of a product, is it new services or services associated with products, or we will come to this point of that can we look into innovations or marketing of innovation especially with the perspective of only prices, distribution, that we will talk about. But then at this moment we are focusing upon the elements around products, service associated with products, new usage or new perspective around a product. So let us try to analyze, because many a times you find this debate how to look at innovations, how to look at the elements of innovations, how to confirm that this is a new product in terms of, or let us say an innovative product or an innovative usage of a product. So those kind of debates come in, because until unless we are able to acknowledge that with reference to the fundamentals, we would never be able to steer that, and that is why this debate is very important. So you see, let us talk about how should we look at it. Now look at this situation, look at this figure. If we look at innovations and with reference to marketing of innovations, and we look at any innovation especially with reference to the product, if it is an entirely new product, how to look at it with the perspective of being a new product. For example, Mitti Cool, we will be talking about these things separately as well, but Mitti Cool, Amazon Kindle, Google Glass, wherein the existential initiation of the product is newer, it was not seen or visualized by the consumers or the customers, although it may have existed as a concept, it may have some roots in or let us say historical roots, but at this juncture it is coming up with a new shape, new existence, new entirety, and that is where these new products can be categorized. So I would be talking about these separately as well, but then look at this. And then before I go ahead, I would just mention one more thing. There are some services or some combinations of products and services by some organizations which may fall into all of these categories simultaneously as well. Now that is a complex situation, but then when we are looking at innovations in marketing with the perspective of value chain marketing or value chain or value network marketing or value web marketing perspective, then there are some things, and just to initiate a thought in your minds before I go ahead with new usage and then subsequently other elements. For example, look at Patanjali. What do they offer? Their offering is very composite. They offer a prospect of healthy life, wherein they treat people with an inception of a habit of yoga. Once yoga comes to your life, then other elements fall into place, wherein to keep up that life, dietary changes are also brought in. So, they are into organic products also, which complement their efforts while they introduce yoga. Then those dietary changes are, you know, alongside with several other kinds of products and services which Patanjali offers. So, if you look at individual services or products, then they might fall here. For example, yoga may fall here somewhere, organic products may fall here somewhere, and so on. Separately, they may fall here in different quadrants if you will look at it. For example, yoga, you may say that it is a new perspective. Yoga has been existing there for since ages, but then adaptation of yoga with a newer perspective can be looked upon with the perspective, with reference to newer perspective. Organic products definitely can be, can fall into some quadrant here. But the point is that if you will look at yoga and organic products and other elements and services compositively as offerings, then you would realize that they may fall into almost all the quadrants simultaneously. And it makes sense also, because at the end of the day, while practicing yoga and eating whatever you wish for, oily food or those kind of things might not be, gelling with each other. So, you have to change habits with some healthy food and some other lifestyle changes and some other, adaptations in terms of as far as prospective future health goes, some other sort of products, or let us say some other habits, for example washing habits, or sleeping habits also might be changed, or sleeping style might also change. For that you might be changing your mattress as well. So, that is again a product category which can be looked upon. Then watching television might also change, and then timing also might change, and there the requirement for a particular kind of a product which you are changing in terms of as far as spending time with that product might also change. So, that might also affect as far as this complete composite situation goes, and that would be all encompassing. Whatever Patanjali would be offering within this sphere, that would fall into almost all the categories if we look at that with a composite kind of an offering. It may sound complex here, but if you will try to enlist, for example, if some of you are practicing yoga and you are associated with such kind of organizations, then you may realize that because of yoga or with yoga, what else kind what other changes you have brought into your life, and what other products you are actually consuming, and you have replaced some of the products from your shelves and so on, and then try to look at that thing compositively, and you would realize that innovation is all encompassing it. And definitely I have been talking about the concentric element. So, if yoga has the concentricity, then it would sort of include several kinds of things, or induct several kinds of changes through products in your life. So, now let us go ahead. For example, new usage. So, warfarin, Teflon, duct tape, these kind of products, they existed because of being used for something else, and then slowly graduated to, or gradually we adapted them as a different kind of a product for a different kind of a usage. New perspective, canal top solar PV systems, a new perspective as far as how to implement the as far as how to use the areas, different kinds of empty areas, or let us say available areas for as far as putting up solar PV systems. Bio briquettes we have been talking about. Bio briquettes are the resultant of forest bio residue most of the times, if you are talking of northwestern Himalayas, and this is a precise example. So, pine needles have been falling on the floor of the forest for n number of years, and if you try to convert them as to half burnt charcoal based kind of a source of energy, then it requires several kinds of mixing, and then carbon emissions are there, and those kind of things are there. But then if you simply compress the needles and convert them into a forest bio residue briquette, then it is a different kind of a perspective which we are adding to this forest bio residue. There are several other such examples which have told us that while changing the perspective, you can change the usage, you can change the entire thing into a new product as well. So, you see how things are connected with each other, although some products they fall specifically into a category, but they traverse or the adaptation process and their categorization may traverse from this quadrant to that quadrant as well. Then comes in new services, Spotify, a brilliant example and a very prevalent example. Airbnb, of course, we have talked about this earlier as well, and NetMeds, it's again a very good example. So let's see how situation gradually takes us towards this kind of an understanding that what is marketing of innovation related to. It is being a new product, new usage, or let us say new perspective or new service and so on. Let us start from new usage. Now, you see warfarin, for example, it was initially developed as a rat poison. Look at that, and warfarin is now useful for people who are susceptible to blood clots, embolism and stroke. Now, when we are talking of new usage, many a times the product which has been produced with a particular kind of a use graduates into a new usage through further research, because some resultants they come in, people keep on analyzing and reanalyzing, or should I say that experts and scientists they keep on analyzing and reanalyzing things basically, and the product graduates into a different kind of a quadrant somehow. Although if used in an original form, it still could be used as rat poison, but then it was converted completely or popularized as something which can be used for these kind of things, blood clots, embolism and strokes and so on. Then Teflon, it is historical basically. There are several kinds of elements which have been discussed about Teflon. There are some effects, unwanted effects of Teflon kind of things basically as far as the whole world goes also. So, I am not subscribing to the usage of Teflon here, but we are just talking with the perspective of a product which emerged somehow and then graduated to a new usage perspective. So, Teflon was initially developed as a refrigerant and as a coating to prevent corrosion on electrical wiring. Look at this, it was entirely different what it is now. Then Teflon was repurposed and became most famous as non-stick coating for cookware, and it became prevalent almost everywhere, so much so that larger part of the industry started subscribing to it, wherein the oil manufacturers and those kind of manufacturers they started talking about that less oil would be used if you use Teflon, and then healthy food kind of a perspective got associated with Teflon. Utensil washing perspective also got associated with Teflon. You had different kinds of washing equipment or different kinds of sponges getting used for Teflon. You started using different kinds of spoons for Teflon because metal spoons were not good for Teflon. So, you started using wood spoons for Teflon. You see, whole lot of a value chain, whole lot of a perspective around this product started changing, and an ecosystem started getting developed in terms of one product which graduated from being a product towards being a new usage and so on. So, you see it became historical when sort of people started talking of oil-less cooking and those kind of things, and that thing probably graduated towards one more thing wherein people started focusing upon some substitution in terms of oils also, wherein when people became health conscious and they started using it, then other manufacturers they thought that they can introduce different kinds of oils, and people are graduating to think in terms of not the taste but the ultimate effect of the oil on the body as the main functionality and main perspective around oils and so on. And then duct tape, it is also very interesting. You see, it was created as a waterproof tape to seal ammunition cases and prevent moisture from getting inside those cases while being transported and stored. So, it is completely waterproof, and it turned out to be a powerful and long lasting sticky tape that could be utilized for a variety of tasks including crafting and even fashion and so on. And on the humorous side, when you would watch some comedy movies, you would realize that people have started, people show that someone's shoes get broken up and then sole gets dismantled. So, people are using duct tape to stick to that and so on. So, that extreme basically, duct tape is a very essential part of our lives today as far as the whole situation and scenario goes. So, that is the perspective as far as new usage goes. But while talking about this, I should suggest continuously that this new usage may graduate into new perspective also, may graduate into a new product as well. After that, somehow if we realize that this can be used as a new product in entirety and so on. Now, the question to ponder upon is, initially designed for communication, are smartphones still being marketed for the same purpose? It is an important thing basically. You look at your smartphones continuously for looking into the time somehow. So, time can be one factor. Watching movies has become one of the most important things as far as smartphone goes, especially when you do not want to use internet, you have downloaded movies, and then news, it is major, and social connectivity, social media. That is one of the biggest kind of things, and the testimony to that is that now you have a feature in your mobile phones that tells you that what are the apps which were being used by you often last week. Smartphones are used as exercise companions also, and they are being marketed for these kind of different uses also. Most of all, smartphones are replacing cameras for a common person now, common not in the sense of being common, but with reference to who are not photographers by nature, or who do not want to use high efficiency cameras in terms of photography goes. So, and you see capturing moments, smartphones are one of the most important elements, and they are being marketed for that. Many companies, you would have seen advertisements in terms of that this is being used for X or Y or Z and so on. And then comes in the new perspective. Marketing of innovation through new perspective entails altering how consumers view a brand or a product. How do they look at a thing which has been introduced probably for something else in the mind of the marketers, and but then the feedback from the ground comes in that somehow this product should be marketed with this kind of a perspective. The example which I am going to suggest might not be so apt from the position where I am sitting as an academician, but and this is one of my favorite examples. I have been talking about this often now and then. Education was being projected as the means for gaining knowledge to live a happy, long, self-sustainable life, which can be contributive towards the development of the world and the society and so on. And that is why people always say that probably you have 3-4 gifts which you can offer to this world. One is a child who can grow into a good human being with lots of knowledge which can be used for the betterment of this world. The other is if you can create a small library, a collection of books which can be used by people for n number of years. One is if you can grow a garden and a tree and so on, so that can be used for oxygen purpose and so on. These are gifts which you can offer to this world. So, there are 4 or 5 such kind of fundamental gifts which you may offer to someone basically. So, but then a child is termed as a gift because child's contribution in the development of the world is immense. You can never analyze, and you look at great personalities around yourself and you realize that they actually are the gift to this world because of their knowledge, because of whatever they did for this world. And most of the times it is their knowledge, skills, intensity, zeal, enthusiasm, concentration, consistency, integrity and so on. So, this kind of a perspective was associated with education. I would not say was associated with education, but still somehow it is associated with education. But then now education has become a basic means to earn a profession and a salary, and this is where new perspective comes in. So, this can be done by revising the story behind the product, and this has precisely happened. we started talking about all the courses, even PhD, with reference to the career growth. And this revision in the terms of narrative and story highlights its history, heritage or mission, cultivating a distinctive brand identity. So, although historical perspective is associated with as far as the whole story goes, but then if you change the orientation somehow, the newer perspective keeps on evolving in due course of time and so on. I was watching something on some OTT platform, and I realized that transportation can be seen with different kinds of perspective as well. Transportation can be seen with the perspective of simple commuting. Transportation can be seen with the perspective of going away to your work. Transportation can also be seen with the perspective of coming back to where your roots are, joining folks back home, near to your home, and those kind of things as well. So, transportation has different perspectives which can be projected in terms of as far as the narrative goes. Now, look at these examples which we have talked about and look at the details associated with that. So, canal top solar PV systems, these solar panels on the canals top block the sun's rays, allowing the water to remain in the shade and slightly cool. But then this is an advantage wherein you have this space to be utilized by these solar PV panels also. If you would not do that, then you might be putting them on some area of land which could be used for different kinds of purposes and so on. And if you will just mount there somewhere above the water, so that open space can be utilized for as far as this situation goes, largely a win-win kind of situation. Today you have floating panels as well. You have floated those panels on the water bodies which are not being used by many people to commute or go or use for other purposes and so on. So, biobriquettes, as far as the situation goes, I have told you already, pine needles are compressed into high densified solid block that can be used as a fuel as well, which was not being done at all, at least in India. That was used with that was done with a different kind of, as I said, half burnt charcoal, cow dung mixed or mud mixed kind of a briquette which was being made out of that. In European countries, pellets are being made, and they are being made for quite some time now. Now, Dove Real Beauty, for example. So, Dove challenged traditional beauty standards by promoting real women with diverse body shapes and skin types, encouraging self acceptance and self esteem, and projecting that Dove actually can be seen beyond being a soap most of the times. So, that is where new perspective comes in. And you see, we are graduating towards as far as the whole situation goes. Now, you see, marketing of innovation, is it the new services? So, services are included in marketing innovation as well. Businesses may launch new service offerings such as support packages, subscription models or digital services. To convey the clients the benefits and value of these services, service advances, effective marketing is essential. And you see, it adds to the innovation of the product and service in an innovative way. That can, these are complementary things, but a pure service can be innovative by itself as well. For example, you are going for these JEE coachings and management coachings or CAT coachings and even IAS coachings. Now they have sort of gone for 24/7 kind of answering systems, AI based systems, or let us say one-to-one systems and so on, and people would come in front of you any time to answer your queries. 24/7 they are available to you and so on. Even in astrology, lot of services are being offered, and astrology has graduated through AI and social media and as far as YouTube and those kind of things go. And today you just enter into a space and you put up some data there, and people and then that would respond to you with some fundamentals and basics, and then you can go for some questioning through some AI based kind of a thing, and then one-to-one sort of a discussion can also be taken place and so on. And you can also watch your daily horoscopes or monthly horoscopes and so on. I am not subscribing to it that it should be or should not be, but then again the point is that this is how it is graduating, it is getting developed. And music, anytime, anywhere, those kind of things are going on as far as the whole situation goes. So, let us look into this. Spotify disrupted the music industry by offering a vast library of songs that users can stream for free or with premium subscriptions, making music more accessible and convenient. And where would you put Saregama Karwa here? Is it a product or a service? You should look into this. You see, we talked about that example in detail. So, that, as I said, some things they they are related to different quadrants at the same time also, and they are all encompassing also. And then when you conduct some researches associated with these kind of services and products, you would realize that those have some healthy effects also. So, is it contributing to as far as the mental peace and those kind of things go? Yes, definitely they might be, but those have to be projected that way, those have to be systematically positioned that way. But then I would be talking about that later on as well. If you position an innovation in terms of marketing which is very fixed, and you somehow do not keep a scope for that positioning to be changed later on, to graduate later on, then it would be kind of a problem. In conventional marketing, which we have been talking about, traditionally we have been referring to positioning as largely being fixed. But this is one of the most important things which we should be discussing here, and I would be talking about this at length later on as well, that in marketing of innovations we have to think in terms of, and that is why we have sort of projected these quadrants, that we have to think in terms of positioning having a scope of being graduated from this side to that side at the end of the day. And that is very unique in terms of marketing of innovations. Why? Because innovations would graduate in due course of time to be fixed as for one thing. As we rightly discussed, what is mobile phone for now? Basically communication or photography. So, if we would have positioned it only for communication, then it would have been difficult for us if we wanted to graduate it as an additional tool or a main tool for photography, and which they have done in a few cases wherein they have specifically suggested that this has multiple cameras and the photography is beautiful and so on. So, that scope as far as marketing of innovation in terms of positioning has to be kept, and this is the unique element in terms of marketing of innovation. That is what you call flexibility in terms of positioning. And that has to be accounted for from the very beginning when we are thinking in terms of marketing of innovation. So, Spotify disrupted the music industry by offering a vast library of songs that users can stream for free or with premium subscriptions, making music more accessible and convenient. NetMeds is an innovative online pharmacy, as you know, and healthcare platform that has transformed the way people access medications and healthcare products in India. And then Airbnb, we have talked about earlier as well. The peer-to-peer lodging platform offered by Airbnb enables individuals to rent out their houses or other properties to tourists, providing distinctive and affordable accommodations all over the world. So, I would be coming back to you while collating everything in terms of marketing of innovation with reference to being a product, and then I would slightly put our take our discussion towards how this complete circle gets evolved, and then I would refer briefly to positioning once again, and would be continuing this discussion towards that how marketing research actually helps in whatever we are thinking in terms of as far as the whole scenario goes. I will be catching up back with you with a new insight. Till then, just try and find out some products, put them in quadrants, try to associate them with those quadrants, and then try to think that can they graduate from one quadrant to other quadrant, or simultaneously can they be placed into two quadrants as well. I will be coming back to you. Till then, goodbye.